This is the MochaFootball.com. This is the MochaFootball.com weekly podcast. Damon, this podcast right here is kind of bittersweet right now. And the reason why I say that is because we're close to the end. That means, a lot of the regular season ball is about to be over and the playoffs are going to come around. We all love playoff ball, but at the same time, a lot of people's seasons are going to be ending soon in 3 weeks, and it's been a great season. And that means, honestly, it's closer to the end of, high school football in this state, period. So it's kind of bittersweet right now. But, it's been a great season so far. Honestly, this might be the best 3-week stretch of the season right now. With the games coming up. We're going to get into last week's game of the week. We're going to get into this week's game of the week, which is the game that we've been kind of waiting for a while now in Sherwood Paint Branch, and we're also going to get into Clarksburg and RM. First and foremost, Damon, like I said, Northwest went to the Cougar Dome, and they got a rude awakening. It was one of those situations where QO just looked more dominant in almost every single phase of the game. They ran with efficiency. I think Doc Bonner managed the game well. Sean Barlow, he's one of our favorites. He's one of QO's favorites. He's one of those kids that he can do everything for QO, and he's really been the leading catalyst for the whole system that they're running over there on the offensive side of the ball. I think that the defense really stepped up, the defensive backs, after a kind of shoddy performance versus Clarksburg. I think that they stepped up versus a very good passing attack led by Mark Pearson, and they did their thing. Fofi Bazzi really had a good game, along with Broxton, and Barlow was in there too. I think that QO right now is looking like a championship contender and a leading one at that, right? Talk about that game and how what are your feelings coming out of it?
The game played out pretty much how I think we expected it to play out. If you go back to last week's podcast, I mentioned it would basically come down to whether Northwest could run their offense versus a Quince defense that's been on a roll, a very stout defense since week one. Right. And it panned out pretty much like that. Outside of Northwest, I think it was first or second drive of the first quarter, the QO defense just pretty much locked them down. I don't know this officially, but this may be the first time Mark Pierce in his varsity starting career has thrown for under 100 yards. Right. And that goes to show you how well the QO defense played last Friday night. He was able to. He would put it this way. In the few times he did have time to pass and wasn't under pressure and was able to get the ball out to his receivers. Right. The receivers, there was basically no yards after the catch. Right. If they were able to catch the ball, it was for very minimal gain after the catch. Right. And that just goes to the improvement the QO secondary has made over the course of the year. The preseason, I know that was a question for the Quince Cougars, how well that young secondary would come together over the course of the year. And so far, so good. If you can hold Mark Pierce in that Northwest offense to under 100 yards passing, right, that's a good day. I think that's a really good day. Would take that.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the other side of the ball, like you said, Barlow and Beander both went over 100 yards. Barlow got the job done with 3 touchdowns, including a stellar 24-yard run in the second half. And as you mentioned, Doc Bonner managed the game very efficiently. He chipped in with 8 completions for 85 yards on 12 attempts. So very, very efficient. Didn't make any mistakes.
Right.
Yeah, outside of a shutout, I think that was as good as a game that Georgia played. The only knock I can really think of is the penalties.
Yeah, and it was a really heavy. Yep.
Yeah, that's an easily correctable thing. Most of those penalties, so I wouldn't be too worried about that moving forward. Quince Orchard is going to be in the playoffs. They do have a tough game coming up in Week 10 versus Paint Branch, but that's about it. I expect them to cruise this week against BCC, and then the following week against Whitman, and then getting ready to travel to Burtonsville to take on the Panthers. For Northwest, they're still kind of comfortable in the playoffs, in the playoff conversation. For them, again, some really, really crazy things have to happen for them not to make it to the playoffs. As a matter of fact, I think they can lose the next 30 games and still squeak their way in.
Right.
But I expect the Jaguars to bounce back this week versus Churchill. They have a tough game against Clarksburg in Week 9, and then they close out with Wooten. So bare minimum. At worst, I expect them to come out 2-1 in the final 3 weeks, but they'll be the favorite in all 3 games, and then get ready for the playoffs, and more than likely a rematch with Quince Orchard. But basically nothing's changed for what we thought about these two teams. Quince Orchard's run game is as good as any in the county. Northwest is still working out the kinks with their offense. That pretty much wraps it up for those two teams. Personally, I'm super happy with the win. The crowd was great. The atmosphere was awesome. As usual, when these two teams match up, it's one of the more heated rivalries in Montgomery County.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, that's the first time Quince Orchard's come away with a victory at home versus Northwest since 2011, which is crazy if you think about it.
You know, just remembering, how the players for Northwest were after that game. They're very emotional. That's the first time I kind of saw them show that kind of emotion after one of their losses this year. They're visibly upset with the performance. The coaches were visibly upset. I think they're going to go into the lab and correct some of the mistakes that they were making. This is not the same team that we saw the last 2 years, but the good thing about them is they have talent. As long as you have talent, as long as you have talent and a really, really, really good coaching staff, you never count it out, And this might be the best thing that could happen to him, kind of get smacked around. The previous few games in your mind kind of justify some of the things that happened. A play here, play there. It could have been a little bit different. But this one was a domination. So now you got to kind of have to look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, where do we have to get better? We're not good right now. Where do we have to get better? Where do we have to improve and come back and be the team that we should be? But yeah, QO was just impressive, man. I mean, Beander, Barlow, Isley Kim on the ground. I mean, it's looking scary. It's looking like it used to be over there at QO. We're here with the man, the myth, the legend, Jake Funk. Jake, first and foremost, congratulations on getting the offer from Maryland, man. And then now committing soon thereafter. What has it been like since you committed and made that decision?
It's felt like a big weight has been taken off my shoulders. Not knowing where you're going to be playing the next 4 years is definitely, very stressful. And, I feel very relieved that I know where I'm going.
Right. Absolutely. Take us through that process of you getting offered, and then now take us through the process of you actually making the decision to become a Terp.
Okay, so Monday, the running back coach came to our practice and watched me at practice. And then the next day, I got a call from the recruiter coach for our area, and he's the one who gave me the offer.
Right.
And then that night, I talked about it with my family for a couple hours.
Right.
And then, we decided that it'd be the best decision for me to commit, and then I committed the day after. But I didn't publish it until Friday because we had a game Thursday.
Right.
And I didn't want my phone blowing up on a game day.
Right. Absolutely. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Maryland has made a concerted effort to try to keep the local kids in-house, to play for the state school. Obviously, you're one of the top guys in the state, and I think that you made a very profound statement committing to Maryland, even though they're still looking for a coach. It's almost like you committed to your community rather than and the state rather than just the team itself. How did the quote-unquote movement campaign affect your decision, and who were some of the guys that kind of reached out to you right after your commitment? You know, I saw that, you know, you were hanging out at the Damascus game. You know, you were hanging out with Dwayne Haskins, guys like that. Who were some of the guys that reached out to you right after you committed?
Yeah, definitely Dwayne. Dwayne, you know, he was, you know, a guy pushing for the offer for me.
Right.
And he, you know, I played 7-on-7 with him in the spring.
Right.
And, you know, me and him have been in good contact since then. And
Right.
When he heard that I got the offer, he was, you know, really excited. Yeah, and, you know, just really happy for me. And then, obviously, when I committed, he was even, you know, happier.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Damascus has now 3 D1 seniors, with Jacob Bradshaw committing to New Hampshire this week and Daquan Grimes committing to Monmouth earlier this year. This is not a new thing for Damascus. You guys have consistently been putting out D1 talent in the last 8 to 9 years. And, you know, some guys that actually, you know, went on to have NFL tryouts, making it onto NFL rosters. What kind of statement do you think it makes for the football program that you guys have? What does it mean for the community as a whole, a community where you guys grew up, played together Little League ball, and decided to come to the local school rather than go to different private schools and play, and now you guys are playing college ball at the highest level?
It's huge for our school. You know, our Coach Frazier is our main recruiter coach, and
Right.
he does a, you know, fantastic job with recruiting for us. He puts us in gives us opportunities for us to perform that, you know, I don't think I would get with a lot of other coaches.
Right.
And, you know, I really appreciate all the hard work that he puts in. You know, he goes out of his way to help us out. And then, you know, it really does help, you know, the young guys, you know, seeing that, you know, that guys in the local public school, high school are, you know, getting recruited by big-time D1 and stuff like that. So, I mean, it definitely helps to, you know, shy them away from private school, to be honest.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you 125,000%. You guys have literally been rolling through everyone this season. The only time you guys have scored less than 40 points was the first game when you faced off against a QO team, and now it's looking like one of the best teams in the state and one of the favorites to win the 4A championship. How have you guys managed to stay sharp, you know, through this stretch of your schedule?
We come out every week and we practice just like it's a QO week or a Seneca Valley week or, you know, or playoff game. You know, we treat every team as, you know, the state champions from last year,
Right.
or like, et cetera.
Right.
You know, and we really come out and focus every week, and you know, it really, you know, shows in the games on Friday.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. You guys face Magruder this week, but we all know what's coming up after that. How you guys, you know, what have the coaches been telling you guys about staying on task, you know, focusing on Magruder and then I get into Seneca later on?
You know, they've been telling us, you know, just like you said, you know, we got Magruder first. You know, it's definitely hard, you know, for me and a lot of my teammates, you know, because
Right.
you know, that game is always, the Seneca Valley game is always a great game.
Right, right.
But I mean, they're just on us all the time about we got one more game before Seneca. You know, don't sleep on Magruder. Yeah, and just, you know, keeping our heads 1 week at a time.
Absolutely, absolutely. Have you been, you know, I know you guys been kind of tunnel vision, but have you guys been peeking over to see what Seneca's been doing? Have you been noticing how they've been rolling and how they've been kind of dominant this season as well?
I can say I have. You know, just on my own time, you know, at home watching film.
Right.
You know, I can't really say for my coaches, but
Right.
you know, I can tell you that I have.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And last question I have for you is, you know, I asked Adrian Fields player 2 weeks ago about, you know, how he kind of feels about the parity in Montgomery County right now. Do you feel like that's a problem, or do you think that's kind of like a byproduct of having so many schools or other factors in being involved?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's a pretty it's a problem. Because there's a big drop off, and it's tough to see. It's tough to like watch and play against.
Right.
And I mean, it's something that I don't know if I have a lot of say to get into. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I feel I'm just a player. I'm gonna go out and play every game, but I can't control those things.
Right. Absolutely. Well, that's a great Jake Funk for you guys right there. And Jake, thank you so much for stopping by, man. And I appreciate any time you can come on, and we love what you've been doing. You're making me look like a genius, by the way. Keep doing what you're doing because you make me look good. You're right on pace for my benchmark for you that I put before the season. So again, that's Jake Funk, running back from Damascus, and continue with the program.
Thank you for having me.
Damon, you know what time it is, man. This is the game. This is the game that a lot of us have been waiting for, man. It has become a really big rivalry. I mean, Paint Branch heading over to Sherwood's homecoming game. Okay? This is huge. Now, what you got to understand is because of the forfeit, this can knock Sherwood out. Now, it won't mathematically knock them out, but at the same time, the way things are playing out, it can make it hard for them to sneak into the bottom part of the playoffs, the 4th seed or whatever the case may be. Paint Branch has been, over the course of I don't know how many years, they've been under the thumb of this team. In the last few years, Paint Branch has gotten the upper hand. They don't want to let that go. They've been the kings of the 4A East the last few years. It's felt good. Last year they came in and they beat Sherwood, had the kids crying on the field, right? And I'm sure they took pleasure in that because they've been on the other side of that a lot of times. So it's one of those situations where Paint Branch is coming in to end it. They're coming in to really end and mess up Sherwood's season. And that's just the bottom line. They smell blood, right? And they're coming in to do it. And they have the weapons to do it. And they're on a mission right now. They're ready to prove that, because, over their, this 3-year span that they've dominated it, this is the best Sherwood team that they've faced. I think that this will be their greatest triumph so far, to beat this Sherwood team and prevent them from going to the playoffs and winning on their home field at Sherwood's homecoming. So it's a great opportunity for Paint Branch. Awesome. But can they do it? They got a kid named Ivan Nadi. Damon, this kid is a monster. He's a matchup nightmare. He's fast, physical. He's strong. They put him in the slot a lot of times. He runs the seam routes. He can run the bubble screens and everything like that. I mean, this kid is just overall just a really good player. Martin Ceballos, of course, we've detailed him a couple times on the show. I mean, overall, Damon, this thing is Gibbs time. You got Mikey Collins over there, Javon Wheeler. I mean, those boys right there, man. This team right here is loaded all across the board. Now, the Sherwood Warriors, we got some dudes too. In my opinion, the best wide receiver in the state, right? We got a quarterback playing at a very high level, Sean Bliss. Travis Levy right now is just playing, out of his mind. He looks like he's unstoppable. Last year, in the second half versus Paint Branch, I think it was his coming out party. I think that's when he realized in his mind that he was not only just a good player, but he was a transcendent player. And I think that he's going to have one of those nights again, along with Marcus. Last year, Paint Branch did a good job on Marcus. I think that Marcus is going to be looking to make a statement versus Paint Branch. Because he's kind of heard about that performance for a while now, and I think that he's kind of tired of hearing about it. So I think that this is going to be his opportunity to make a statement. It's going to be exciting to see him and Javon Wheeler go at it again. I know Javon Wheeler is looking forward to that matchup. I think the key for Sherwood is, are they going to be able to rush the passer and create a messy pocket for Armani? Paint Branch likes to release a lot of guys into routes because of all the weapons they have. So I think there will be opportunities for guys to get into the backfield, the pass rushers. You know, there's going to be a lot of one-on-one opportunities for the pass rushers to get upfield and create some havoc. So I think that's the key. Like I said again, man, this is a colossal matchup. This is a matchup that I've been waiting for a while. Damon, what do you think about this game?
As you mentioned, this is what has become a huge rivalry between these two teams. And it doesn't get any better than this. Honestly, up to this point, this is the game of the year in Montgomery County. You got two undefeated teams on the field, humongous playoff implications on the line. Homecoming for one team. Yeah, the loser of this game may not get into the playoffs. This is everything you want in a marquee matchup. As you mentioned, this game is going to feature several of the top players in Montgomery County. You have Travis Levy and Marcus Sims. They're in the top 30 rushing and receiving in the county, public and private. At quarterback, you have Armani Sabalos, number 2 in the county, public and private for passing. Right. Sean Bliss, who's in the top 12.
Right.
And that's not even mentioning the big men on the line like Siarkis, or the players for Paint Branch at linebacker, Jordan Hill, Gibbs Tyne. I mean, this is a huge matchup. I mean, it has everything you want. This would be, if this was the NFL, this would be a marquee Monday Night Football type matchup.
Right.
Yeah, so just on the surface, this is a huge game, and then you throw in what's on the line for both of these teams. I mean, for either one of these teams not to make the playoffs, it'll be a travesty, and it'll be a tough pill to swallow. But that's just the way things
That's how it goes. That's life.
Out this year in that region.
That's life. That's how it goes.
Exactly. So yeah, if this is pretty much a playoff game. I mean, I'm pretty sure both teams are preparing and approaching this game as such, knowing that one loss, it could be a wrap. So personally, I'm super excited. It may sound weird, but I'm more excited for this game than I was last week for the QO Northwest game.
Right.
Maybe it's because I don't have that personal emotional interest in the game that you have.
Yeah.
But I will definitely be there in person.
Okay. Coming down to Sandy Spring.
This game. Say that again?
Coming down to Sandy Spring. That's what's up.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Actually, getting to Sherwood is easier for me than getting to Quince Orchard. So
absolutely.
I'm looking forward to just traveling down Lay Hill Road and busting a left.
Right.
And getting to Sherwood. But yeah, nothing more needs to be said about this game. We're less than 48 hours away from kickoff, so it's going to be a barn burner. If there's any game that you guys are thinking about going to or on the fence about, I would definitely try to make it to Sandy Spring this Friday at 6:30. It's going to be one for the ages. I mean, it doesn't need to be said, but there's been a lot of chatter on the internet from both squads. Both of them are feeling they are the superior squad, and time for talking is done. It's time to put up or shut up.
Yep.
I mean, this is it. And honestly, looking at the docket for games this week in the county, there's nothing even close. I mean, there's been weeks in the past where we've had to think about what the game of the week was going to be, but this is it.
Right.
This is a huge matchup. Yeah, I can't wait. I honestly can't wait. But I can't cop out this week. If I'm giving a prediction for the game of the week every week up until now, I got to give one. So, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I'm going with Sherwood. I think once again, Travis Levy will be the wild card that puts Sherwood over the top in a close, hard-fought battle. I have them coming out on top, 28-24.
I'll take it any way I can get it. I'll take it any way I can get it. Another team that will take it any way they can get it right now is Clarksburg. They're looking and they're trying to lock up a playoff spot. You know, they're a little bit behind the 8 ball, but they're still alive. You know, they're still alive. If they win out, they got a really good shot. They have RM, a really the surprise team in this, maybe in this whole area. They are 6-1. Had a kind of a scare versus Poolsville. You know, after losing to Northwest the week before. If you guys have not seen RM, right? Jordan Green, the running back and defensive end, number 5. This is a big, fast, strong individual running the rock. And he is very, very scary, right? He's one of those dudes that when he gets ahead of steam, you do not want to get in his way at all. You just kind of want to step to the side, kind of like when you see the serene lights on the emergency vehicles. You know, you kind of swerve to the side. That's what you do with Jordan Green, right? He's that kind of guy. And, you know, they got – look, RM got really good players, man. They got some really good players on the outside that can make some plays. Daniel Alexander's, you know, he's a guy that makes a lot of plays. He made some plays versus Northwest as well. What do you think about this game, Damon? And what do you think that Clarksburg is going to have to do to slow down RM and you know, keep their whole playoff hopes alive?
Yeah, like you mentioned, this game is not quite as big as Sherwood Paint Branch, but for these individual teams, especially Clarksburg, once again, huge playoff implications. Clarksburg was quote unquote upset by Gaithersburg last week in a tough battle, taking the L 18-7. So they're kind of behind the 8 ball now in terms of trying to make it to the playoffs for which would be 3 years in a row for them.
Right.
So they pretty much, they don't have to win this game. They can still drop it and mathematically make it into the playoffs, but it's going to be infinitely easier for them if they can take out Richard Montgomery.
Right.
For Richard Montgomery, they pretty much have it locked up. A lot of crazy things have to happen for them not to make the playoffs. But looking at their schedule going ahead, I think they'll be able to pull out at least one win out of the next 3. So they're sitting kind of pretty. I mean, Clarksburg and then Gaithersburg, there's going to be 2 tough games for them. But I think they're going to take out Randallstown from Baltimore County.
Right. All right.
But at least for RM's sake, at this point they're playing for playoff seeding. They would definitely love to have at least one home playoff game. That'd be huge for the team and the school and the community to have a home playoff game.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So for Richard Montgomery, they just basically need to keep doing what they're doing. Play solid defense, and feed the ball to Jordan Green.
Right.
Ball security will be paramount, because Clarksburg, they don't turn the ball over much. They play pretty solid football, and if you make any mistakes, it will make you pay. In the games that I've seen them in this year, they're a strong starting team. You don't want to let them get out to an early lead,
right,
because they can't put up points quick. Now, granted, they haven't put up a lot of points in total, but if you look at the individual games, there's been several times they've gotten up one or two scores on some really quality teams before they could figure out how to stop their offense.
Right.
But yeah, this is going to be a tough game to call. I mean, Stanley Perry, he's going to have to carry the heavy load for Clarksburg on the rushing game.
Absolutely.
And
Javon Gordon.
Exactly. And Hunter Reimers, he's quietly had a pretty good season at QB for the Coyotes. I think he's one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the area. With that being said, even though Richard Montgomery on paper should be the favorite, I think I'm going to go with Clarksburg in this matchup. They got more at stake. They know this is kind of a do or die kind of game, and they don't want to be sitting at home come week 11. They got a lot more to play, and I think they want to prove that they're still one of the quality teams in Montgomery County. As you mentioned, Richard Montgomery had a scare versus Poolesville last week, and outside of Northwest, Richard Montgomery really hasn't seen too many quality teams. This is literally going to be the second best team that they've seen this year.
Right.
So looking at the Northwest score 2 weeks ago, looking at the Poolesville score this week, I have a feeling Clarksburg is going to pull this out. It's going to be close, but I think they're going to pull it out. I got Clarksburg winning in a low-scoring game, 17-14.
Okay. Well, that's all the time we got for this week. Damon, do you have anything else that you want to say before we get out of here?
As usual, if you have any questions or comments, hit me up on Twitter at Nomad Anderson, or shoot me a message on the message board at mocofootball.com. Once again, we got another out-of-county matchup. We got Watkins Mill still in the playoff hunt.
Right.
They will host Tuscarora from Frederick County.
Right.
And even though there's not a lot of marquee matchups in the county this week, pretty much every single game has playoff implications one way or another, whether it be seeding or just trying to get in. Mathematically, every team in Montgomery County minus one, the Kennedy Cavaliers, who unfortunately are winless, the Cavaliers are the only team that has been mathematically eliminated as of now.
Right.
So everybody still has a shot. So everybody out there listening, regardless of what your record is, you should be playing like you're going to the playoffs, because technically you still have a shot.
Yep.
And congratulations to Einstein getting their first win last week.
Yeah. Clap it up.
I mean, it's been a rough season for the Titans, but it's good to see them get that W. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting week. Like this is that time of the season. Like every game has huge implications, not just for the two teams playing, but it has a domino effect for every team that you've beaten or lost to. This has an effect on everybody else. So every score this week I will be keeping an eye on to see who won and who lost, because it's going to play out when we get to week 10. And that even goes to out-of-county. I mean, there's some out-of-county games that I got my eye on that will have impact on whether Montgomery County teams get in or not. So that being said, I'll see you guys in Olney on Friday.
Well, that's all the time we got. See you guys next week.